Space Hulk Tactics. Is it worth a buy? Let's read the words of the developer. Space Hulk Tactics is a faithful adaptation of the board game Space Hulk, set in the Warhammer 40,000 universe, bringing a unique twist to the cult classic formula. Engage in bloody battles as either a squad of Terminator Space Marines or the deadly alien Gene Stealers. Yes guys, it's another Space Hulk game. We haven't had that many Space Hulk games. The first one I played was on DOS. It was a big green box and I remember I had to run MemMaker just to get the frickin' thing to work. But that was back in I think it was 1989 that. I know it was, I just looked it up, I just tried to sound like a smart ass. But anyway, we have another Space Hulk here, and this one is more tactical, hence the name Space Hulk Tactics, than any of the other ones. It introduces cards, which I'll come to shortly. But first of all, for those people who don't have a blue-haired girlfriend and sit in these game shop workshops painting f***ing figures all Saturday, there's nothing wrong with that if you do that. But if you're not one of them people, then I'll tell you how you play. Basically, there's two campaigns in this game. I'll tell you what's in the game. You get two campaigns, one for the Space Marines, one for the Gene Stealers. They're not really called Gene Stealers, that's just one type of the enemy. They're called Tyranids or something, but I can't say that word properly, so I'm calling them Gene Stealers, alright? So you got a campaign for them and a campaign for the Space Marines. Now the cool thing about the campaign, it's voiced, it's all voiced, but the cool thing is they kind of run parallel. Even though one campaign is set thousands of years before the other one, you actually... That would be a spoiler. I'm not going to tell you, but it's really cool that what I suggest you do is play them both in tandem. Don't play one then the other. Play them both together and you'll kind of timey-wimey wibbly-wobbly. That's all I'm going to say. You also get a skirmish mode, which is really cool. Quite a few maps in that, and you also get a map editor, which is fantastic. It's just like clip-on. Anybody can use it. Anybody can use this. I made a level in 15 minutes. Obviously, it was just a base level, but I wanted to see how easy it was to do, and it is so easy. You can make any level you want, and the AI will work on that level as well, or you can upload it public so you can play multiplayer. It does have full multiplayer on the skirmish maps. You can choose to be the Gene Stealer or the Space Marines. So there's a lot of content here. Also, for those people who do have blue-haired girlfriends in Marvel t-shirts and sit in these games, just stop. You know who I mean. There's a full customization, so you can customize your Space Marines and paint them and do all of that stuff that's so good, guys, for those people. Anyway, how does the game play? Well, it's entirely turn-based. It does have a first-person mode, but it's just a gimmick. It's pointless. The thing you have to understand, this is a very, very slow turn-based game. For example, the Space Marines, they only have 4 move points each game. 4 points they are, that they can use to either fire the weapon, that takes 1 point, opening a door takes a point, although you can shoot them. Moving takes 1 point, moving 1 square takes up 1 point. If you move, you can then get a free shot. So if you're moving towards a door, you can move once, then shoot the door for free, then move again, shoot the door for free, and hopefully you'll blow a hole in the door and be able to get through it before you reach it. If not, you have to spend a point to open the door. And then you have an Overwatch move, which basically means at the end of your turn, hit the Overwatch button, and anything that comes into the path of that Terminator will automatically be shot with the Terminator. That takes 2 move points to actually instigate Overwatch. Oh, and also the Terminators, just to turn 90 degrees, turn their facing, takes a point. So you don't get many points, so you need to really think long and hard before you move these, because if you f*** it up, you will be f***ed up. Gene Stealers, on the other hand, have 6 points that they can use, so they can move around a hell of a lot faster than the Space Marines, and there's a hell of a lot more of them than the 5 Space Marines that you take on each mission. The Gene Stealers can be unlimited in number. I'll tell you how you get the numbers in a minute when I come onto the cards. The Space Marines, they are experts at long range, although you wouldn't f***ing think it, because they keep missing. There's RNG in this, guys. RNG. It is RNG'd from hell, this game, which I'll come to in a second. There's a lot of things I'm coming to in a second. Might be a long f***ing video, this. Okay, let's talk RNG now. Basically, your base attack with your Storm Bolter gun is, I think it's 33% chance of hitting. Well, you hardly ever hit, But the thing is, even when it's like 70%, if you buff it with a couple of cards, you still hardly ever hit. It's just, RNG just hates me, I think. But there is RNG on everything that you do. Every fucking thing is RNG'd. Every fight is RNG'd. Every fire of your gun is RNG'd. But it's got to be because the whole board game of this is dice-based. And you see the dice on the top right side of the game screen. Whenever you take a move, you can see what you need to roll, and usually I roll nothing like that, so that's a bit of a problem. But it does have cards that you can play once each turn. One card you can play every turn. Now what the card might do is buff a Terminator's chances of hitting. It might buff how far he can shoot, might buff the amount of time that his AoEs will stay active on tiles on the floor. Or you can just choose to convert that car into more move points, into some more points that any team member can use, which I pretty much do all the time because I find them way more useful than the actual stuff on the cards. So you do get a little bit extra move each go by converting these cards. Now moving through these space hulks, these giant ship freighter things, is very, very slow and extremely dangerous because you don't know where the gene stealers are. What the gene stealers have is like these radar blips. They look like sonar pings. You'll see them on the map. Now you don't know what's in that ping. It could be either 1 or 3 gene stealers, or it could be one even bigger, nastier gene stealer, which there's these different types of them. I can't remember the names, but some have kind of armor plating that can take a fatal shot and still survive. Others are like have this acidy stuff like aliens, and if you shoot them, this acid goes all over the floor, so you can't actually step on that tile for a turn. So there's a lot of threats out there, and you've got to kind of progress slowly to your objective, and that could be anything from planting a bomb to escaping to activating a console to just trying to rescue one of the Terminators that's in there. But you have to move slowly and methodically to that place, covering every possible attack, and you have to do it in a certain amount of turns as well, which just really adds a little bit more tension to the mix. The gene stealers, they will also have an objective if you're playing as them. They might have to kill a certain number of space marines. They might have to defend a certain point that the space marines are trying to get to. And I have to say, guys, I found playing as the gene stealers way more fun than playing as the space marines, just trying to outflank them, which is really hard in corridors that are so narrow. There's not many big areas, so you've got to kind of look on the bigger picture and just try and, I mean, one match I had where they had this heavy weapons dude with 10 magazines in a, looked like a Gatling gun, and he was overwatching the entire rear guard action, and the rest of the space marines were pushing forward to the objective. So I just rushed the guy with the machine gun, and he killed so many of my gene stealers, but eventually he ran out of ammo, and then we just closed in and killed him, and then we got right up behind the rest of the space marines and we took them out one at a time, and it was so satisfying and so much fun. And that's kind of one of the tactics that you might have to do. Unfortunately, the AI doesn't seem to do that. It will just sit when you have Overwatch and just not attack, which can cost it the game sometimes. So the AI does need a bit of a buff, but I think this game was mainly meant for multiplayer. Now, and it's too early to say how balanced it is at the minute, but I do know in the beta, the gene stealers were a bit overpowered from what I heard. I haven't really experienced that because I never played it in the beta. I've only been playing this today. I've done, well, it says 15 hours that I've done in it, but most of that has been against the AI, simply because there's not the players in the game yet. Everybody's still playing the campaign. Is it worth buying? Well, it's a toughie, this. It really is a tough. I think this is a very niche game. I don't think pretty much general gamers are going to like this. I think it's going to be too slow. I mean, waiting for the AI to move can be up to a couple of minutes. It's you're just sitting there doing nothing. It's a really, really slow game. It's not a bad game at all. I'm having fun in it, and it can be brutally hard on some levels, and others can be pretty much piss easy, but there's a lot of content here. That's the thing. There's 2 campaigns. There's the skirmish that I said, and then there's the multiplayer. But my advice is this: if you're not into this kind of turn-based game, certainly in this universe, then I would stay clear, because you're going to be disappointed, and it is a lot of money. It's $34.99. Now, if you are into the 40k, then I think it's a no-brainer, because it is not a bad game at all. It's not a bad game, and you get a lot of content with it. So I'm going to middle thumb this, because this is not for everybody at all. This is going to get it's a borderline game for me. It's not good enough to just say, yes, it's definitely worth a buy, but it's not bad enough to say, no, it's not worth a buy. It's a tough one. It's a real tough one. It's so borderline, this. There's so many pluses and minuses for this that it's just making the call is going to be just a little bit too hard. So I think if the AI was a little bit better, I think if it rushed you a little bit more, kept you on your toes, then I'd probably sway to the thumb up. But it does need that little bit extra work. So there you go, guys. Space Hulk Tactics is certainly not for everyone, but it's not a bad game at the same time. It's right there in the middle of the road.